Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. Hey,
Grab
Karen.
him. Like mom was
Hello.
up there, and she was like trying to grab him.
Right,
Hello, Ben and
right. They can,
crew.
and like he doesn't
I
have.
know you're gonna want some margaritas.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Bye,
Good to see
Cody.
you.
How are you?
Do they
I'm
have a
good.
white pizza? We're gonna open. I would love a white
I've never
pizza.
done one of
You
these.
have multiple conversations going on.
Yes, I love the chaos.
Yeah, I did one with
Yeah.
at the just after COVID,
Right.
the main part of COVID, right?
Yeah.
How's everybody doing?
We all vowed that we had our shots and got together.
Right. Oh,
What are you trying to do?
there, that's one.
Well, welcome. Welcome to another tasting, guys. It's seems like the months just motor on, and gosh, we're already at May. I know it feels like every month we're like it's hard to believe here we are again, but who was it? Yogi Berra was famously quoted as saying, "Everywhere I go, there I am."
Yogi Berra,
There's
not Yogi Bear.
We can hear you.
Are we muted?
I don't think so.
Okay, can you mute us?
No, you're not. And since you're
Yeah.
since you're not
Thank you, Mark.
since you're not muted, you might as well show us what you guys look like too. Let's see your
Oh.
beautiful faces.
Okay, oh, well, I'm not sure how to do it. Let's
You
see.
do, there's a little camera picture, should just hit the camera right near the volume one. I
Yeah,
don't
there
have my
you go.
glasses on.
I don't have my
There
thing.
should be a movie camera little icon.
Yeah, if you want to. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
That's okay.
We're trying to find it.
yeah, down the bottom left, you see there's audio,
Yeah.
and then there's video next to that. You can turn your camera on and off there.
You don't see it either.
Don't see it.
But you, maybe if you,
There's not an option under there that gives you like a camera, like FaceTime.
you might be blocking it with your computer room, like on Zoom.
Oh, you
Right.
mean it
Yeah,
might be under
Yeah,
there.
he opened up his computer
Right, let's see.
one and the
Oh.
Zoom one.
Nope, that's not it either. That's-
No, we'll figure it
We're
out.
looking for it.
All right. Yeah, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
Not a problem.
Yeah. I'm just happy. I'm happy to have you guys here, whether I see your faces or not. Cool. So we have 11 in the room. We're expecting 12 today. So the usual gang, probably. When I see the last person come in, we'll get started. Um,
yeah, I
I've got
don't-
some.
I'm not seeing
I,
any camera anywhere.
It's also not.
I think I'm on video here.
I don't need that.
hello, Nick and
Yeah,
Reese.
there's nothing on this little panel.
There is, but I don't, because I do
Hey,
it.
Mark.
Yeah,
Hey,
Well, yeah,
Nick.
but not on this.
Hey, man, what's
not
up?
on that panel. It'll be on the, would,
I'm not seeing you anymore.
It's down.
Oh, there's a camera way down there.
Yeah, way down
Yeah.
there.
Oh, is that it?
The next one over. Yep,
There you
that's it.
are.
There you go.
Ah,
How are you doing?
Oh,
Good. Good to see you guys. It's been a long time. It's been a while.
Yeah.
come behind them. It's
Yeah.
really not just the two of them.
They're not drinking it all themselves. I get to play.
want to, but we can't.
Mark,
Okay,
you'll
well-
notice Risa grew a beard. So
Yeah, Risa, you've
I'm on.
grown into a handsome young man. Hi, Risa.
Find us some more family.
this is my nephew Mike, and he's more of a wine expert than I am.
And this is
And
his
this
wife,
is
Erica.
Erica.
Somehow.
So
Hi,
that's
Nick and Erica. I
Second
mean,
one
Mike
there.
and Erica. It's really good to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We're excited.
Pleasure.
Cool. Yeah, these are
It should
fun.
be on-
So if you guys have any questions
Under
tonight,
view, because you're doing self-view, it'll be speaker view.
okay, Hesses. I am going to
On
ask
those
you.
dots, those four dots below, go one more down, like right there, those dots right there. And, oh, it's not showing.
Still see us.
Okay.
If you
Ed?
click to the other screen even,
Click
I'm
the
gonna
camera
mute-
again.
click on.
I'm going to mute you guys. Just nothing personal. Just so we can get started. I'm going to cut your
Sure.
microphone off. But as you guys know, you've all done these tastings before, so this is open forum. So you can stop me anytime. You can unmute your mic. You can ask questions anytime you want. This is pretty laid back. So I invite you to ask questions and anything you want to learn about.
Exit your
You
screen
can
of you.
tap my vast font of knowledge
Okay.
regarding
Yeah.
wine. Cool. Well, I hope you're all doing well. And here in Pennsylvania, where I'm living right now, it's been raining for like 5 days in a row. So we've had, I feel like the months have almost shifted here. We have April weather in May now at this point. So yeah, we've had about 4 or 5 days of rain. And I do some side work, just to get out of the house and get a little exercise. I'm really into gardening, so I do professional gardening too with somebody who works in the area. So yeah, I've been working in the rain and I've been soaking wet and kind of looking forward to just drying off, getting clean, and hanging out with you guys and drinking some wine tonight. So I'm really glad you're all here. We're going to drink some beautiful Pinot Noir. One thing I want to kind of bring up now and get out in the open before we start is that we were supposed to have the winery join us tonight, and unfortunately they canceled at the last minute. So they're not going to. The winemaker will not be on with us tonight. I apologize because I know when I put the email out for this particular tasting, I said we were going to have the winemaker on. So if any of you have a problem with that, or if
Willamette Valley.
if you have an issue with that, just let me know. I apologize, but it was out of my control.
Although
But-
calculated the trip up over.
Nevertheless, we are going to drink some beautiful Pinot Noirs tonight. And based on your requests in our prior discussions in prior tastings, you said you would like to try some you want to put like a juxtaposed wines where you could taste the difference between two vintages or two wines from the same area, but from different wineries. So what I could find in our little matrix of wines that were available to us through WTSO were two Pinot Noirs from the same vineyard. And they are produced from the same exact parcels of land, just two different vintages. So tonight we are going to taste some beautiful Oregon Pinot Noir. And I guess the mission is to try to figure out what the difference is between each vintage. And I'm sure some of you are already drinking your wines, but if it needs be said, uncork both bottles, get them breathing, and ideally you want 2 glasses for each, 2 glasses total for each person, so we can taste the wine side by side, essentially. Now, before we begin, you know my spiel, so normally I go into a little bit of background on the grape, on the region that we're going to be looking at tonight in the winery, but also I usually show a map of where we're going to be exploring for tonight. Is there anything else? I would really appreciate your feedback. I don't know if you guys find that information useful when I do those maps and I do sort of the background or the deck slides, or if that just feels a little too corporate and a little too formal. I'd really appreciate some feedback from you. So you guys let me know what it is that you want to learn tonight and how you want to approach it.
Yeah,
So-
we love it. I love seeing where they're from, and then the wineries around it.
Okay, cool.
Same here.
Okay, so you guys are okay with the yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm getting a little bit too into the weeds and I feel like I might be getting boring. It's probably my own insecurity, but I think everybody feels that way when they're presenting sometimes. Okay, cool. Ben, you love maps, and you guys are all essentially friends or familiar with each other at this point too. So use the chat to discuss things and talk amongst yourselves too. You don't need to necessarily be paying attention to me or all eyes on me at all times. So if you have other things you want to discuss with other people in the group right now, use the chat and I won't be hurt or offended. As a matter of fact, I love when you guys talk with each other. Cool. So does anybody else have any questions or things that they would like to learn about tonight? All right. Well then,
And there's Willamette. Sorry. Good question. These are all from the Willamette Valley, right?
yes, both of these are from Willamette. Yeah. And I know I say it all the time, but for the uninitiated, it's Willamette, damn it. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's like their little phrase when you go to that region. And, when I was first there for the first time, I said, "Oh, Willamette Valley." And they said, "No, it's Willamette, damn it." So that's how you remember.
Actually, the checkout person at the store gave us that. We were like, I said, "Is it Willamette or Willamette?" And she said, "It's Willamette, damn it."
Yep. Yeah, so that's their little catchphrase that they use to teach outsiders like us how to pronounce the Willamette Valley. And that is where we are going tonight. So let's take a look real quick at
Yeah, we're just- Yes, we were.
what we're looking over here. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so these decks can get a little boring, so I'm not going to go through every single bullet point on this thing. You guys probably know some of this already, so I'm going to speed through this real quick, but I just want to give you a little background. We're drinking Pinot Noir tonight, and if you didn't know, this is kind of a fun fact. The name Pinot Noir comes from the French pine in black because it's shaped like a pine cone. You see the grape clusters over there? So Pinot means pine. So little black Pinot, little black pine cones, essentially. Very delicious little black pine cones that make delicious pine cone juice, otherwise known as wine. So France obviously is the birthplace of the Pinot Noir grape, Burgundy in particular. And they theorize that it was probably brought to the mainland by Romans in the 1st century. They're not really sure about this. The grape is so old and ancient that they don't really have a true genealogy of the grape. It has been around for at least 2,000 years, and there are other grapes like Chardonnay, for example, that are the offspring of Pinot Noir. So they know that Pinot Noir has been around in France for at least 2,000 years. They don't have any further genetics to trace it back any further than Burgundy. So for all intents and purposes, they say that Pinot Noir comes from Burgundy. And if you've ever been to Burgundy in France before, you know that in the Middle Ages, Cistercian and Cluniac monks were the guys and women who were in charge of the vineyards. And they were the ones who classified the vineyards in France as being different from each other. So they came up with this initial concept of terroir, which is the idea that different parcels of land could produce different flavored wines. So you can grow one parcel over here, you can grow another parcel in the middle, and you can grow another parcel to the north or south of that. And each one has a different aspect. It has a different slope. It drains water differently. It gets more sunshine than others. So all of that in the sum total creates wines that taste different from each other. So this is the initial concept of terroir that the French came up with. The idea that different pieces of land can produce wines that have a specific character that's true to that one particular piece of land. And of course, they came up with their cru system, which is their classification system, Grand Cru, Premier Cru, for different levels of quality. Now, Pinot Noir travels fairly well, but it is a very finicky, picky grape. It doesn't grow well for everybody. They call it the heartbreak grape. I think I've mentioned that before. Winemakers call it the heartbreak grape because it will die on you. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys are into plants or botany or horticulture, but certain things like lavender and rosemary, they'll just grow, they'll grow well for 6 months out of the year, and suddenly they'll just die on you for some reason. Pinot Noir is like that too. So if you don't handle it well, if you don't take very close care with the grape, it'll just die on you, or it'll produce really bad wine. So for that reason, winemakers call it the heartbreak grape, because it's notoriously finicky and tough to work with. And only the best of the best winemakers can coax the really fine wines out of it. So there's about 290,000 acres in the world at this point. And it prefers cooler climates, which is why we're going to Oregon and why we find it in Oregon tonight. Believe it or not, Burgundy is inland from the Mediterranean, and it's actually a continental climate. So it has a hard summer, winter, fall, and spring, very delineated seasons. But the growing season, which is usually spring, summer, and fall, is very long and cooler, which is exactly what the Pinot Noir grape needs. It needs an extended season to ripen slowly. If it ripens too fast, it becomes high in alcohol and really kind of the flavors seem a little bit almost like candy-like and over the top. And if the season is too cold, then it becomes kind of underripe, and you have like these green flavors to it. So you need just the right amount of time to grow this grape and pick it. So a fairly long, cool season, which is why we're going to Oregon tonight. So the key regions, as we know, Burgundy, France, Willamette Valley, will be tonight. California, for those of you Pinot lovers, you know that Sonoma Coast and the Santa Rita Hills are two particular regions in California that make amazing Pinot Noir because they're cooler. I don't know, maybe one of these tastings we will go to New Zealand, I hope. If you're familiar with New Zealand, you know that Central Otago is on the South Island, and it's very cool down there. It's almost close to the Arctic, or is it the Antarctic? I always get confused, but it's closer to the cool regions, like of the zones where you can almost not grow wine. Then Chile is one of the late adopters. You'll find really nice Pinot Noir coming from Chile, which they started growing it in the late 1800s, and Australia. And just to keep the profile simple, one of the reasons why I love Pinot Noir so much is because it really it delivers straightforward flavors of raspberries, strawberries, and usually kind of like a bramble of red fruits, sometimes a little red currant. It's known to have this overtone of violet or rose, so it's like very floral sometimes. What they call like a lifted element to it, which is like this lifted nose of flowers. And as it gets old, which is my favorite stage of its development, when you have an older Pinot Noir, it starts to develop these really strange flavors of earth and forest floor. Sometimes people use that description. And really old Pinot Noir almost smells like mushrooms, which is really interesting. Sound like Pinot Noir to you? I mean, as far as you guys are concerned, is this familiar to you? Yeah. If you know Pinot Noir, this is essentially the grape and what it delivers. Cool. Oregon is the fourth largest state in production. I had to look that up because it changes. California is obviously number one. Washington and New York, believe it or not. New York is number three for wine production. Oregon falls fourth behind that. So Oregon is the fourth largest wine producing state. And a lot of times you'll hear people say that Oregon is on the same, the reason why this area is so good for growing Pinot Noir is because it's on the same exact parallel on the globe as Burgundy, but it's not. Now, Oregon is on the 45th parallel. Burgundy's on the 47th. So Burgundy's actually a little colder, believe it or not. The interesting thing about Oregon is the entire state only has 44,000 acres, which is the entire size. So Napa Valley has 44,000 acres alone. So Oregon State is small production. It's only like 6% of the entire production of the state of California. So it's not very big at all. Believe it or not, first planted in the 1800s. Didn't know that the history went back that far, but in doing my studies, I found out that the Swiss immigrant named Peter Britt, was one of the first planters of grapes in Oregon. In the 1960s, a gentleman by the name of David Lett graduated from the UC Davis, California, and he really had this wild hair that he could grow Pinot Noir grapes in Oregon. He had heard about this cool area. There's my wife. They heard about this cooler area in Oregon called Corvallis, and he was convinced that he can grow great Pinot Noir, classic Pinot Noir up there. So he started the first vineyard in 1965 called Irie. It's still there. David Lett is no longer with us, but he is considered to be sort of like the father of Pinot Noir in Oregon. And here we have on the side here, this is a map of the Willamette Valley. And it runs essentially from Portland in the north all the way down to Eugene in the south. And it's divided into 11 subregions, which you can see here. We are going to be dealing with this little blue square here today. This is a relatively new region that was just adopted in 2022, and it's called the Mount Pisgah region. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. Yeah, so this little blue area right here is where the winery that we're dealing with tonight is located. And it's interesting. If you look at both the bottles that we have with us tonight, they both say Willamette Valley on them. That's because the Mount Pisgah region was not designated until 2022. These wines were made in 2018 and 2019. So that Mount Pisgah AVA did not exist when these wines were made. So therefore, it just says Willamette Valley on the bottles. Something interesting to note. The interesting thing about Oregon is that it's mostly small producers. So this is very much like France, where you have small family-owned producers that are only making limited runs of wine. Both of these wines here I think, are 216 and 220 cases in total. So these are really, really small production as compared to, some of the really large wineries out there. So 75% of all the winemakers in Oregon produce less than 5,000 cases, which in the wine world, that's pretty small production. Now, one of the things that we kind of covered and gone over in prior tastings is that the American alcohol and tobacco, what is it, the TTB now? I forget what they changed it to. But they require that if you're producing a wine in the United States and you want to call it by the name of the grape, it has to have at least 75% of that grape in the bottle. Now, I think last week or last month, we were tasting some Syrahs and some Syrahs from California, but the one Syrah actually had about 15% of other grapes mixed into it. And that is perfectly legal. You're allowed to do that. You can, as long as you have 75% of the main grape in the bottle, you can call it by that name. So you can still call it Syrah, even if it has 25% of other grapes in there. In Oregon, the standards are much higher. In Oregon, they've kind of self-regulated. This is their own state law that 90% or more of the wine must be made from the name variety. So 90% has to be Pinot Noir in this case. Both of these tonight are 100% Pinot Noir. There's nothing else in the bottle other than Pinot Noir. And Pinot Noir is the main grape planted in Oregon. 60% of all grapes planted for winemaking are Pinot Noir. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, cool. So let's take a look at this. This is the reason why we're here. We have two different vintages. We have a 2018 and a 2019 in front of us. And although the winery couldn't make it tonight and the winemaker couldn't be on with us tonight, he did give me some notes on the vintages. So we're trying to figure out what is the difference between these two vintages. Are we going to be able to taste it? So this is based on his information, and also this is based on some AI searches that I did looking for weather and harvest information from the Mount Pisgah region in 2018 and 2019. So the 2018 vintage was warm and ripe. So this is what they call like a textbook perfect season, where it's nice and warm, not too hot, not too cold, not a lot of rain. You want it nice and dry because grapevines like dry weather. So you want a really long, moderately warm growing season with cool nights. So the cool nights are what stops the grapevine from metabolizing sugars, and it retains acidity in the grapes. So you want this kind of push and pull dynamic where the days are nice and warm, not too hot, and then the nights are nice and cool so that the vines can shut down and rest, essentially. So 2018, they considered to be almost like a textbook perfect season. A lot of the grapes were hanging until October. Usually they harvest in September, but in this case, they picked them in October. So the winemaker has to make a dynamic decision and figure out when he's going to pick his grapes, and he or she is going to pick their grapes, and they have to decide based on the ripeness of the sugar in the grapes. He was saying, the winemaker that I spoke to was saying that this is going to have bright acidity and it's going to be more fruity. So we're going to see flavors like boysenberry, raspberry, cherry cola, spice cake, and they think it's a pronounced ripe fruit profile with really soft tannins. We're going to figure that out for ourselves. The 2019 vintage was what they call the classic cool Oregon vintage, where the weather was a little cooler. So requiring more harvest, more wait time hanging on the vines until they could harvest and get their desired ripeness. So in his words, he described the 2018 as bright and concentrated, and it's less about the fruit flavors and more about the structure, the ageability, and what we call the secondary or tertiary flavor aromas and flavors, where you have more like kind of leather and tobacco and earth and mushroom and spice and herbs like sage sometimes. So based on this, the 2019 vintage is going to be a little bit more floral and earthy. Cool. Any thoughts? No? Okay.
Well, yeah, Mark, I've got one comment. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, this is nice because you have from the same winery. The only real difference is the year. And it's just amazing how different these wines are depending on that growing condition. So I always like that just to see how different wines can be from year to year.
Yeah, that's why I thought this would be a fun exercise. Have you tasted them yet? I assume you're probably drinking wines already, right?
Yeah. I've tried a little bit of each. So, yep.
Yeah, me too. And I think they kind of fit this profile. You know, we can extrapolate, we can go into greater depth on each one of these wines, but basically speaking, I think they fit this description pretty well. You have the 2018 to me feels more warm and ripe and more fruit forward, and the 2019 is a little bit more of a classic Pinot Noir with a little bit more of those kind of like secondary and tertiary notes to it. But we're about to find out. Okay, we cool? Let's go. Let's start tasting then. So the reason why I got confused talking about the vintages is because I was going chronologically from 2018 to 2019, but we're going to do just the exact opposite when we taste. So we're going to start with the younger wine first, the 2019, and then we're going to go to the 2018 because I like to start with the younger wine and then show people how it develops as it gets older. So let's start with the 2019. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to make sure I understood what we were starting with.
Yeah, we're starting with the 2019, so we're going young first. I forgot, I want to show you one more thing. So while you're all pouring and getting ready to drink, let me just share this with you real quick. Not my email. This is the location of the winery. So I want to make sure I show this to you because this is kind of fun and interesting. So obviously, state of Oregon that we're looking at, and where I put the red pin, that's where the winery is located. So we're going to zoom in real quick. And once again, there's Portland, and there's Eugene. So we're kind of looking at the Willamette Valley there. You can almost see it. You can see this. There's this coastal range here, these coastal mountains, which block the influence of the Pacific Ocean. So they're blocking the cool air from coming in, and we have sort of like a mountain, what they call a rain shadow here. So when the mountains block the clouds from producing rain, you get sort of a drier area, which is the Willamette Valley, which is what makes it perfect for growing grapes. So this is the small town of Dallas here. I don't know if any of you have been. Rick Rial, I've been to Rick Rial before. I've been to Dallas before too. And the winery is located just southeast, like 2 miles southeast of Dallas, where this pin is. It's in the Mount Pisgah region, and it's in the rain shadow of this mountain range here. And this is a volcanic mountain. I learned it was pushed up from the seabed by undersea volcanoes. So the soil is volcanic, which is one of the things that grapevines love. And it's a very small vineyard, as we've already established. Right here, this is the winery. So this whole property here is the winery, but these 10 parcels right here, this is all they grow. This is 55 acres. So this is where our wine comes from. The top 2 blocks that I'm pointing at right here are Chardonnay, and then the rest down here, this is all Pinot Noir. So you're literally looking at the place where our grapes and our wines came from. We're looking due north, and you can see, as we've talked about in the past, that the vineyards are facing due south, which is the best aspect for growing grapes. You always want your vineyard to get the most sun exposure as possible. And if it's facing south, it's on this hill that's kind of pitched southward and facing south. You're going to get the sun crossing over, arcing over from east to west as the day goes, and you're going to get the most sun exposure. Now, the other thing that I want to show you real quick is this.
Hey, Marc, you
Yes.
may have said it, but
Yes.
what is the elevation of this area?
It's not very high, but it's. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little echo there. It's 400 feet above sea level, so it's not very high, but it's high enough to get out of the fog. So it's under the fog layer, or it's above the fog layer, excuse me, where it gets sun exposure. So the fog hangs pretty low and blankets the ground. And this vineyard is high up enough to get above the fog layer and full sun exposure during the course of the day. So yeah, only 400 feet above sea level, but that's enough to get the job done and to get it the sun exposure that it needs. And the other thing I wanted to show you real quick is this. You guys, some of you are probably familiar with Van Duzer Vineyards. They make some fantastic Pinot Noirs. So you can see here, almost like this, it almost looks like a river valley. You can kind of see like this, like delta here. This is known as the Van Duzer corridor. And this is actually a corridor that travels all the way to the Pacific Ocean. So cold air funnels in from the Pacific. This is a gap in the coastal range. So this is what we have an exception here. We were talking about how the coastal range blocks the influence of the Pacific, except in this situation here, we have a gap, which is called the Van Duzer corridor. And the Van Duzer corridor allows cold air to be sucked in from the Pacific into this inlet here, and it blankets this region immediately within the delta of the corridor, causing the region to be cooler in climate and temperature, which is what makes it perfect for growing Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. So you can kind of see it almost here. This is inlet, and there's a little valley and a river that travels out to the ocean. And this is where the cold air travels in through the Van Duzer corridor and blankets this whole region with fog and cold air, which makes it conducive to growing Pinot Noir. Okay, so that's just all I wanted to show you. Any other questions? Sorry, I know you guys want to get drinking. So yeah, we're starting with the 2019. I'm sure most of you are already on it. And we established that 2019 was a little bit more of a cooler season, cooler growing vintage. So this is going to have a little bit more of that kind of structure to it, and it's going to be more tannic, and I think it's going to be less about the fruit. You tell me what you think.
Question for you, Mark.
Yeah.
When you say structure, what does that mean?
So tannins are usually your structure. Tannins and alcohol are a structural element in the wine.
So higher tannin, more structure?
Yes. So yeah, it's less about the fruit flavors, and it's going to be more about there's going to be some herbs, a little tart rhubarb in there. When I was tasting it earlier, so you're not going to get like really ripe fruit flavors. It's going to be a little bit more like back in the pocket, and it's going to be more. Then the tannins are going to stand out. The oak is going to stand out a little bit more, and you're going to get maybe a leaner wine, a little more in the French style. It's pretty. It smells to me a little bit like rhubarb. I don't know if you guys are getting any herbs on there. I get some sage, like almost like some dusty sage. Cherry and strawberry, definitely. But yes, okay, so there's those tannins. I spent 16 months in French oak, and only a portion of it is new. So they don't expose the full batch of wine to 100% oak. They only take 33% of the lot when they're creating the wine, and they expose that to new oak so that it doesn't become overly oaked. And then in the end, they blend all the batches back together again. So there's just a slight touch of oak in there. But yeah, I'm definitely getting some oak and a little grippiness on the tannins. The acidity is really high. So this falls in with what we were looking at when we were talking about the vintages. It was a cooler vintage, so usually when it's cooler, the acidity is higher. My mouth is almost watering. I don't know about you guys. I'd like to hear your input. What are you tasting on this? Ooh, a little cherry cola. I just got some cherry cola.
I know you said strawberry, and I don't, at the risk of sounding like I'm just mimicking you, but when you have like a strawberry that isn't quite ready, it's like got a little bit of white on it still.
Little green. It's got a little kind of like a green.
It's got a little kind of like a green. Yeah.
Sorry, if I'm kind of pausing here for a minute, I'm getting a little bit of an echo, which is confusing. But yeah, there's kind of like a greenness on there, to Mike's point. Karen, you look like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I'm just comparing to the 2018. It's a little bit more muted for me all around flavor wise than the 2018.
Right. So that's what we were, the winemaker was, his notes were saying this is less about the fruit and it's more about the structure and ageability. So this is something that you could probably put away in cellar for a little while. And this would probably really come out of its shell and show its best in a couple of years. It's a pretty wine.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty wine, but I don't think it's not deeply complex.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. There's like some strawberries, some cherries on there. The tannins are pretty strong still at this point. So they would probably need a little time to mellow out.
That said, when I had it with food though, as compared to the 2018, and I'm more plant-based, so I had like a lentil stew. I enjoyed this one a touch better with food than the 2018.
Well, that would make,
I thought was a little bit more complex.
Yeah, and that would make sense. When we've discussed this in the past, we talk about food-friendly wines and how European wines are typically more built or constructed or traditionally made to be had with food, which fits the profile. So usually it's a little more straightforward and it's less complex and the acidity is higher. And it's more about finding a wine that's good for complementing the dish without getting in the way of it, which is what makes simpler wines like this more food friendly, in my opinion. Whereas with the 2018, I think we're going to find that it's a lot more fruit forward and it has a lot more to say. So it probably competes with food in a way.
Actually, we were going to make the same point as Karen, that we had it with we had salmon tonight, one of your suggestions, and with the sort of fattiness of the salmon, the high acidity was very nice.
Yeah, I love salmon and Pinot Noir is a classic pairing too. I don't know if that's something you guys do in your household on a regular basis, but it's classic in Dijon, France, where Dijon mustard comes from, by the way. Dijon encrusted salmon is a pretty classic dish that you're going to find almost everywhere in Burgundy. It seems a little counterintuitive at first because it's fish, but salmon is very fatty. It's very gamey, and it has a pretty kind of like oily texture to it too. So you need something nice and acidic to kind of really mitigate that fatty texture. And it almost like eats like a steak sometimes, depending on how it's prepared. Red wine, Pinot Noir is perfect with it. Pinot Noir is perfect with escargot too. I don't know if we have any escargot people in the group, but I love escargot.
The week before last in Paris, for the first time ever.
Oh, how'd you enjoy yourself?
What's not good? I enjoyed myself.
So was that when you were going to La Tour d'Argent?
Yes.
So did you go?
I did. I was able to get a reservation.
Wow. How did that go?
Opulence. It was awesome. It was the best dining experience I've ever had in my life.
Oh, thank God. I'm so glad you got a chance to go. There's for those of you who know Paris and France a little, there's a restaurant in Paris that is, I think, 400 or 500 years old. It's called La Tour d'Argent, the Tower of Silver, or the Tower of Money. And it's got one of the best wine lists in the world. And the dining there and drinking there is supposed to be just like, if you're an enophile, it's a once in a lifetime experience. And I recommended it to Karen, and she went, and she had apparently the greatest time.
Yeah, my daughters were highly impressed.
Oh, you took them too, huh?
Yeah, they went as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they're
That's-
older. They're adults. They're young adults. But yeah,
That's quite a treat. That was really nice of you.
I'll say.
Did you let them know?
Yeah, they know.
Yeah,
They,
yeah. You should thank me. Cool. All right. Any questions about the 2019? I quite like it, and I think if it, with more time to open up, this to me drinks more like a classic French Pinot. This is what they do in Oregon because it's cooler climate traditionally, or typically. It's 2019 was what they call the classic weather or the classic climate. 2018 was sort of an anomaly. It was more dry and warm, so should lead to a more fruit forward and higher alcohol, which it is by a couple degrees. It's 14.1%, I think. So these were both made essentially the same way from the same parcels of land, and with the same amount of oak exposure too. This one is actually slightly less. It's 25% oak exposure, and the alcohol is a little bit higher because it was a warmer year. So when you have warmer weather, that usually causes the grape to ripen more, develop more sugars, which means it ferments into higher alcohol levels. So that makes total sense. So let's check out the 2018 now. Or maybe I should check out the 2018 and stop talking.
so you just said the 2018 had less oak exposure?
Yes.
Okay. I got a lot of baking spices from that, and I didn't know if that was related to oak exposure or not necessarily.
It's only a slight difference. The 2018 has 25% oak exposure. So it's only, whereas the 2019 was 33%. So, I mean, it's really splitting hairs, but, in the wine world, that does make a difference. Ooh, yeah. So the 2018 is, I mean, just like kind of bursting with fruit. It's like black cherries, vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
We're being crazy here. We're being crazy here, but we all smell, but on the nose, not tasted, but on the nose, I smelled like almost like concrete or some kind of like granite or stone.
Like yeah, stone or flint.
Yeah.
Like when you went through like Home Depot and Lowe's, like when you first entered, you smell it, it's like a different, like all that like patio stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
Very
Earth tinny something. I don't know. I can't tell. I can smell it, but I can't identify it.
It smells very juicy and round to me. That's my initial impression is really strong fruit flavors, like ripe strawberries, ripe cherries, black cherries. But yeah, maybe a little bit of that mineral kind of character in there too.
That's got a very strong.
Very strong.
Are we muted? No.
No, not muted.
There is a little bit of a green. The tannins are kind of green. I don't know if you're getting that or not. It's almost a little stemmy. Which means sometimes the winemaker will crush the wine with a little bit of the stems in there to add tannins because the stems of the grapevine or the grape clusters have tannins in them. So oftentimes if they feel like there's not enough tannins in the grapes, they will throw a couple of the stems in there and crush them all together so you get more tannins in the wine. To me, I'm getting a little bit of that greenness in there. And there's an interesting kind of licorice note. I don't know if you taste that or not. Like after you swallow the wine, or what you call the mid palate or the finish, there's almost like a little bit of like a hint of licorice. Almost like cherry licorice whips, like the red licorice.
Finish lingers a little. It lingers with this one.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, whereas the other one I felt like kind of fell off after like a minute or two. This one here is just like it's kind of burning. There's another thing that I wanted to mention. You can feel that. Do you guys feel the heat on this one? It's almost got like a little bit of a burn or like a heat to it. And just that little bit of alcohol, the additional alcohol that's in there that elevates it from the first one is enough to make a difference that you can almost feel it. There's a heat after you swallow the wine. little bit like you get the effect of almost like a cherries flambe or like a dessert. So really interesting. Both from the same winery, both from the same vineyards, 2 different years. I think almost completely different. What do you guys think? Oh, pizza. Somebody's having pizza tonight. Yeah, red wine and pizza. You almost can't go wrong. Hey, Elizabeth, how you guys doing?
Yeah, I think why what a difference a year can make. Go figure.
Yeah, agreed. I almost wish we had 3 different vintages to see what 3 would taste like. Okay, so at this point, I want to open up the floor. I know it's been open forum for the entire tasting, but really, I've been doing a lot of talking, so I'd really like to get you guys involved and see what you think now. And it doesn't have to just be about these wines. We can discuss anything if you want. You can ask me any questions about wine, about Pinot Noir, or you can talk if you want to. But I'd really like to hear from you guys. How's the weather where you live? I don't care. You can talk about anything.
Mark, I'm Erica.
Sorry. Oh, hey guys.
Okay.
Oh, hey guys.
He's back.
Are you all there? I'm sorry.
I
don't know. Yeah, you were about to say something when I lost you. So, Erica, please.
Erica. No, so everything that has been said, I think it was Karen and you, Mark, between like the differences, especially with the 2019 felt like it just flattened, but with the 2018 there was more to give at the end. So like when what they were saying, that it's like the more I've gone back and forth in between them, I noticed like the drastic difference. So yeah, I wanted to call that out. Yeah, it's one is not better than the other, they're just different. I mean, I prefer the 2018 more.
Yeah.
But overall it's just been like really interesting to notice a difference.
That's cool. Is that the first time you've done something like that, or you've seen something like that, or you've seen the difference?
No, being in this family, actually, my husband really got me into wine, and we've been doing a lot of, like really into wine, like not like actually knowing and understanding wine, like for the past few years. So,
well, and they've been to the Willamette Valley a few times.
Yeah, we've been to the Willamette Valley.
Cool. Where did you
Mark,
go?
they lived out there a couple times.
Oh, where did we go?
McMinnville, Dundee Hills. We stayed at a place called the Black Walnut Inn. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that was a super cool bed and breakfast thing we stayed. And yeah, it's just a nice vineyard they produce there as well.
Did you guys get the opportunity to go to either Alzheimer or Ponzi?
No, we did. One of the ones you mentioned was Irie.
Irie, yeah, that was the one. That was the first winery.
That was the first winery.
Yeah, we went there, and they were great. But yeah, just a cool area. It kind of reminded me of Sonoma a little bit, and that like the wineries were all like a little more rustic. Like you didn't get the Napa feel where everything was very, very high end.
Overproduced.
Willamette Valley was like it was more homey and I guess intimate. You would go to a winery and no one else would be there.
Yeah,
the winemaker would be there doing the tasting, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was what we found
Yeah,
by
that was what we
March
found by
in Oregon
March
and
in
Washington
Oregon.
when we visited. Was it's a lot more homey. The wineries are a lot more rustic. Napa Valley and Sonoma are really like famous at this point. Sonoma is probably the more rustic of the two, but still, I mean, Napa Valley and Sonoma are world famous at this point, and there's a lot of money there. Whereas Oregon, we mentioned it's only 44,000 acres in total, which is the size of Napa Valley. So it's very small. All the winemakers know each other. They all hang out together. They all help each other out. The one thing that I found is it's very communal. So they're very into supporting each other, and they believe a rising tide lifts all ships. So their attitude out there is that they don't keep secrets. They all help each other. So yeah, I enjoyed the community, and I really found, like you were saying, when we were out there, you would go to the wineries and you would be tasting with the winemaker. They would come out from the back room and taste with you, which I thought was awesome. So I really like that kind of down home feeling of Oregon a lot better. I feel like Napa and Sonoma have become a little distant and a little out of touch and out of reach now. Although I do like Sonoma. I think Sonoma is charming in its own way. But yeah, Oregon is definitely a beautiful place. And Yamhill, Dundee, McMinnville, those are all really great places to get good wine. You'll find some amazing stuff there, especially the Chardonnays, Pinot Noirs, and their sparkling wines as well. Cool. Yeah. So thanks for the Erica for the information, for the input and the feedback at least. Yeah, it's really interesting to see two wines side by side like this. When I do my wine tastings in person for people, mostly for beginners, their comment is always that red wine all tastes the same to me. It all tastes like red wine. Well, this way you can kind of put two together, two from the same vineyard, and you can see the differences right away. So it's really neat to me. Somebody who had grandparents who were farmers and worked the earth every year to make their living and to live. Any farmer will tell you that Mother Nature gives you something different every season. Mother Nature can sometimes give you something different every month or every week. Like here in Pennsylvania right now, where we've had 5 days of rain in a row in May. You just never know. So every year is different, and you got to work with what she gives you. So yeah, when you put two wines side by side like this, there is a difference. You can see it. So I'm really glad you guys could join me for this and taste it for yourselves. Anybody else want to chime in or want to join the conversation?
Mark, I found that Pinot Noirs have changed so much over the years. Pinot Noir is my favorite grape. And when you go back 20 years ago, before Sideways, and then after Sideways, quite different.
In what way?
Yeah, and some of it maybe is the weather in California, but I call a lot of California Pinot Noir Syrah anymore. I'm gaining appreciation for the Oregon wines because they're still delicate. They're not bold typically, and they're not high alcohol. Any thoughts on that? Or is it, you mentioned earlier that Oregon's 90% the grape, so it has to be 90% Pinot. California is 75%.
Correct.
And I know there's limited amount of Pinot Noir. Are they just blending in additional things like Syrah in California that give them the bolder and higher alcohol content?
Yeah, sometimes. Oftentimes they'll do Petit Verdot as one, because Petit Verdot is very kind of it's got a body to it and it's got an aroma characteristic to it that just kind of punches up almost any wine you add it to. So it's kind of like it plays a very good supporting role as far as grapes are concerned, but it doesn't stand out. So you can't readily identify what Petit Verdot is in a wine. So they use it oftentimes to kind of like punch up other wines a little bit. Good producers in California will go almost 100% Pinot Noir. There are very few. It's good to know that it's out there and that the law allows for that to be done. Most of the time you're going to find it in like the lower shelf, or like the large mass producers are going to take the 75% Pinot Noir and add something else to it to doctor it up a little bit because it's inferior quality. But the high quality producers are always almost always going to go for 100% Pinot Noir.
Okay, no, that's thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think it's changed? I mean, I'd be interested to hear how you think it's changed over the years.
Well, I like the when I go way back, some of my favorite were more of the delicate Pinots, lower alcohol, but they just have this complexity to them. It was really nice. Now they seem like they're going more towards the fruit bomb, and you just get overwhelming fruit, high alcohol, and that just kind of overwhelms everything else about the Pinot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I fell in love with wine by traveling to Europe and been to Burgundy, been to Spain and to Italy many, many times. And also Germany makes really good Pinot Noir too. Over in Germany, it's almost like water. It's really, really light. You can see right through the glass. It's barely there, but there's just something really beautiful about it. It's just so subtle and understated, but it's so powerful in this kind of understated and subtle way. And it's beautiful, you know, like when you're in Germany and they bring it out and they pour you a glass of German Pinot Noir, Blaufränkisch, I think is what they call it over there. And you can have it with pork or schnitzel, and it's perfect. So it's such a versatile wine. And yeah, I really prefer that sort of old European style. The Burgundy and stuff is my favorite, but it's gotten so expensive in the past few years. It's really hard to get a Pinot Noir from Burgundy without dropping at least $50, you know, a good one, up to 100, and in some cases thousands of dollars for like an Echezot or, you know, Pomerol or something like that, which is out of my reach. I don't usually drink those Pinot Noirs, but I've had them before. But yeah, it is one of my favorite grapes. I love it. But you're going to find, I think, as the economy becomes global and we can get wine, we can grow wine almost anywhere in the world now. And I mean, they're growing it in China and Japan. I don't know if you knew that or not, but China has one of the largest wine industries in the world at this point. But, you know, we're starting to see Pinot Noir growing in places like this. There's becoming an international style almost. And a lot of winemakers and wine lovers are belaboring the fact that like these wines are losing their identity because they're starting to make it to appeal to a mass audience. So I really like the different nuances. I like to taste a little bit of greenness in the tannins from time to time. I like to taste a little bit of leather or like maybe even a little like off characteristics sometimes. I like those really light German Pinot Noirs where you can barely taste them. All those nuances, those are my favorite things about wine is the variation. And they're saying that as climate change becomes more and more intense and the weather becomes less predictable, we're going to see more variation in a lot of these regions. And you're going to see more variation in the styles of wine that they produce. So I was reading something a couple of days ago. I think it was Wine Enthusiast or Wine Spectator. And they said a lot of regions are going to start to go to blends now because blends are hedging your bets by putting all these grapes together so you get a more consistent product. And that's kind of sad to me because I like the differences. I like seeing what Mother Nature gives us and how the winemaker handles it from year to year, how they field it, and how they use their knowledge and their expertise to really kind of like make lemonade out of lemons or make Pinot Noir out of, you know, bad grapes one year. One of the things that I want to add too, we've talked about this in the past, but a lot of Oregon did not produce a vintage in 2020. I don't know if you guys knew this or not because there were fires. So
What year was that?
2020.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're not going to see many 2020 vintages. As a matter of fact, my wife and I have a friend who moved to Portland during the pandemic. She was a nurse. She was on the front lines and she was doing a lot of the first vaccinations. And she bought a car and she drove across the country and moved to Portland. So we went out there to visit her last year or 2 years ago. And we were at a winery that was tasting, they had a 2020 vintage. And you could literally taste the smoke on the wine. you know, and the critics, people, the purists in the wine industry, purest winemakers and the purest wine consumers said that typically when a wine has any integrity, they won't produce a wine like that. But this one particular winery that we were at decided to release the 2020 vintage, and you could actually taste the smoke on it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We were talking about that a couple of months ago with the California vintages.
Yeah. I forget what year it was, 2019, 2020. I forget
Ed
when they
was
had.
saying that 2018 was the last pure vintage in California.
Yes, 2018 was, they almost had a perfect vintage. So if you're buying and you're collecting wines, 2018 in Napa and Sonoma was supposed to be like one of the most perfect years ever. Then after that, all the forest fires started to happen. And the weather became very, I think it rained more because there was drought for like 4 years up until 2018. Cool. What do you guys think? I don't know. What's your takeaway with this?
I like the 2018 better. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, usually I do a survey.
We're in the same boat, 2018.
Yeah, I like yeah.
I'm sorry.
2019.
Probably pushing your survey.
The first one.
Yeah.
I say 2018 now, but I bought the extra bottle of the 2019 because of the age potential.
Yeah, I think that one will probably be beautiful in a couple of years.
500 plus.
Yeah, actually, I think we were in 2019 as well. It's a lighter Pinot. It's not as heavy.
More drinkable.
Cool.
And it's better with food.
Yeah, normally I launch my little survey, but I don't feel that's necessary. We have a small group here tonight, so I'd rather hear from you directly. And yeah, it seems like the 2018 is. It would be interesting to come back to it in a couple of days because these wines will change over time. So it'd be interesting to hear what everybody thinks.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, 2018 is definitely changing.
Yeah, if you guys want to email me in a couple of days and let me know, if anything changed for you. I don't know if the wines are going to last that long in your house.
I got plenty of wine to make them last, and I got this Instapot risotto recipe that I want to try with these this weekend.
I can't see who that is. I only see iPhone.
Yeah, it's Rob. Somehow I lost the video, so all I've got is the audio now. But I'm glad I have that.
Yeah. Risotto, especially. Are you going to do truffle or mushroom?
Yeah, it's gonna be mushroom. It's actually it's crazy because this recipe is, if you've made risotto before, you know that it's a laborious effort. This is 35 minutes beginning to end in an Instapot. So I said, I'm going to try that because if that works, that's going to be pretty good.
I have a friend who's a professional chef, and she's cooked for some of the best. She cooks for one of the local music venues around here called the Man Music Center in Philadelphia, and she's an excellent cook. She refuses to do the long version of the risotto. She has a fast version that she does, and she adds cream to it in order to
This one calls for cream too at the end. Absolutely. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So but it's a laborious task, man. Standing there and stirring that and adding the broth to it. But yes, risotto, especially truffle risotto, and then I'll usually top it with either like some sausage, or you can do grilled steak, or if you're really feeling fancy, duck breast would be amazing. And that would be an awesome sublime pairing for these Pinots.
Gosh, I love duck. I did the chicken, and I did the brie with the raspberry jam tonight, and it was really good with the 19. And I think everybody touched on this, but the 18 was definitely just drank by itself alone, which is exactly what you're saying with the more European versus US. Type finish.
The 18's definitely got like some more complexity to it and can be enjoyed as a standalone drink, whereas the 2019 is more in the European style, and I think more something that would be augmented with a food.
Yeah, 100% here.
Cool, awesome.
That was going to be my question, Mark. Do you feel like this is a good example of when people say new world versus old world, with the 19 being the more old and the 18 being the more new.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, the 19, well, in generally speaking, Oregon produces Pinot Noirs that are more in the European style. It's one of the reasons why why the prices have really jumped up. Also because there's small production. We were talking about how 75% of these wineries produce less than 5,000 cases a year. So it's all small holder. And usually, oftentimes, they're sourcing it from one single parcel. So that was one of the things that we asked or we talked about in the prior tasting. And you guys wanted to taste was what does it taste like when it comes from the same parcel? And it's different years and different vintages. But generally speaking, yes, Oregon is known or is becoming known for producing Pinot Noirs that are more in the European style, a lot less oak, a lot more lean, a lot more subtle, more linear. So fewer flavors, less complexity, but more food friendly and kind of straight to the point and expressing, Pinot Noir is typically not a very complex grape. It only delivers maybe like 3 or 4 different flavors. So you're typically going to get raspberry, you're going to get the strawberry, you're going to get the cherries. And then as it gets older, you're going to get a little bit of that earth and the mushroom and the forest floor that we talked about. Sometimes a little bit of the rose or the violet. So it's a pretty straightforward grape, and that's kind of what you want and what you expect from it. So you don't want it to be overly doctored or have any flavor additives or anything kind of like obfuscating the actual flavor of the grape and the natural flavor of the grape. In France, they say the winemakers say, my job is to stay out of the way and let Mother Nature take over and do the work of producing the wine. So Oregon is known for kind of producing that old world kind of like naked expression of the grape, which is, I think, my favorite version. So yeah, 2019, I think, is a little bit more in that vein. And I think 2018 is more like a New World West Coast kind of like more juicy style. Karen, what's up? You going to say something?
No, I was going to say I have found that if I'm drinking a Pinot from North America, it's Willamette. Am I saying that right?
Willamette.
Willamette, damn it.
Damn it. Yes.
I've found that I gravitate towards that more than, California versions of Pinot.
Yeah, I know we have lovers of California Pinot out there, but I find California Pinot to be very like, it almost tastes like artificial sometimes because there's so much fruit flavor. It almost seems like candy.
Yeah, that's interesting because I wouldn't consider myself a Pinot drinker, but both these wines are really good in their own way. So I agree with that 100%. Again, this is Rob on his audio only iPhone.
Cool. Thank you.
Isn't there another area in Oregon that's doing a lot of Pinot? Russian Valley? Is that it?
Russian River Valley is California. That's Sonoma.
Is that that California? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, they're very well known. No, Russian River Valley
doesn't Walla Walla do a lot of Pinot?
Okay.
Walla Walla. That's Washington.
Yeah, that's going to be more your heavy reds.
Yeah, that's inland, and it's a lot more hot there. It's more desert.
It's a lot hotter and drier.
Yeah, they're known for their Cabernet Sauvignons and Syrahs in Walla Walla.
In Washington many years ago. I know.
Yes. Where were we? What was I going to say? Oh, I don't know. I forget at this point. But
yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah.
You actually touched on something I hadn't thought about, but last time I went to Napa, California, it was a wee bit too much for me. And you mentioned that it's a little more approachable in Willamette. How about Washington State wine tastings?
Washington State.
And from an approachability, I guess a low key, I don't want it when I go on vacation and I go on wine tasting, I don't want to have to make an appointment every 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And you don't want to have to drop $60 every time you do a tasting.
That's another good point, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Washington, my only experience, I haven't been to Walla Walla. I've only been to the Columbia Valley. The Columbia Valley is on the border with Oregon. But I've had a great time, tasting around that area too. So that would be my experience, is that it's a lot like Oregon. They're very down home. They're very rustic. The winemakers still get involved in, you'll do a tasting for $5 or $10 in one of their wine tasting rooms with the winemaker themselves. So I find it to be very similar in that respect too.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, so Columbia Valley, that's my only experience.
That's my only experience. Actually, Mike and I used to live in Washington, and we lived near Seattle, but we've been to Walla Walla, and it is very approachable. And we went, it was like end of August, early September, and it was really nice. I felt like it just felt really like private and intimate, kind of like Willamette, low key. And we went to a few wineries in the near Seattle. There is, oh my God, what's it called? Woodinville. There's a lot of Woodinville. There's a lot of
Yeah, they do a big wine tasting. They do a big wine tasting. Columbia Valley wineries.
Right. Yeah, so it's cute there. It's a little bit more high production, but it's really fun. Overall, Washington is a good experience, and to have wine.
Yeah, you can. Thank you. I appreciate that input. Yeah, you can kind of meander back and forth between Oregon and Washington on the border there in the Columbia Valley, and there are wineries on both sides of the border. I don't remember any of them at this point, but I remember them to be very rustic and charming and very down to earth. And the wines are great. You're going to find up in that area in Washington, they specialize more in whites. Riesling is their specialty up there. And as far as reds, Cabernet Sauvignon and Syrah. Oh, Merlot too. Merlot is a specialty of Washington State. And yes, I know that we're all familiar with Chateau Saint Michelle, and some people may have an impression that they're not very high quality or they're not good wine because you see them everywhere in the stores. But they were actually the first, or one of the first wineries in Washington State, and they were connected to University of Washington, I believe, or Washington U, from their agricultural school. So they were formed in the 50s, if I remember correctly, and Chateau Saint Michelle is an institution up there. So I would, if you're going to be in that region, I would definitely encourage you to go check them out.
Yeah, the other good thing about Chateau Saint Michelle is they have a great summer concert series too, if you're out there.
Oh, so yeah, so they do all those outdoor activities. That's fun too.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Walter Clore, if I remember correctly, he was the head of the agricultural department at the university there, and he was the one who started Chateau Saint Michelle. So yeah, they have a long history in Washington, and it's not a commercial winery. It's not low quality. It's actually a really nice place to start for your history.
I was going to say great craft beer scene there in Washington, but it's a different
Yeah, they have that too as well. Yeah. I love the scenery. It's an amazing, I mean, from the coastal region over the Cascade Mountains and then into the desert, it's like night and day difference, like two different worlds out there, both in the same state. And it's so beautiful to see. And driving through the pine and the cypress forests in the mountains, in the Cascade Mountains. Yeah. I wish it didn't rain so much, but well, this has really been nice. I don't think I'm gonna launch, unless you want me to. I'm not gonna launch the survey because I think I know where everybody stands. It's usually a 50-50 split, but it seems like tonight everybody's kind of digging on the 2018 a little bit more.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was an interesting fact. The requirements for the grape varietal, how much they have to use. That was an interesting fact. They have to use.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why you have smaller producers there and higher quality standards, and that's why they command higher prices these days too. I mean, in order to get decent bottle of Pinot from Oregon, we spent like 30 on each one of these. But I think if you buy these through the winery, each one of these is about $70. So we got a good deal here on these. And yeah, if you can buy up a couple more, especially that 2019, I think that'll be a gem in a couple of years.
I'm hanging on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
No, thanks, Mark. Good evening. Good wine tasting. Appreciate it.
No, yeah, I would love to see you guys again for the next one. And we are going to switch gears a little bit. Based on popular request, we're going to try wine.com this time as a supplier. And I think we're going to go with something a little more esoteric. You were asking me to try some wines from a different region. WTSO has been good to us, but they're very limited in their scope of what they serve. So I think, we want to try some other parts of the world that we haven't been able to try through those guys. So we're going to, I don't know, what do you think? I'm looking at Central Europe, excuse me, for the next one. I'd like to do some Hungary and Croatia, maybe Slovenia too. You guys want to try some really interesting, different wines for the next one?
I mean, I told you before, Mark, that one of the things I really appreciate about this is going places that I'd never go on my own. So yeah, any of that stuff would be great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the catch is that with wine.com, we are going to probably have to pay shipping, but they do have this stewardship program, which is like $59 a month. Or, I'm sorry, excuse me, $59 for the year. So if you buy the stewardship program, all of your orders will be free. The shipping will be free on them for a year. So I think that's the way to go. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get into the stewardship, pay for it one time, $59, and then we'll have free shipping for the rest of the year. And that way we can go through wine.com and we can go to places like South Africa. We can go to Hungary and Croatia. We can go to Greece and taste some Greek wine, which we haven't done yet in the 3 years that we've been doing these. Taste some wine probably from Canada if we want to. Canada produces good wine, and also Mexico too. So Mexico, Baja Peninsula is making some amazing Spanish varieties because it's so warm and hot there. So yeah, if you guys want to go with me, let's go somewhere new next month. I encourage you to sign up for that stewardship if you can. But if not, you're going to pay for a one-time shipping fee. So I'm trying to be cognizant and try to be mindful of the cost for all of you guys. I know most of you are okay with, going up in prices here and there. Some of you are on a budget, so I try to be mindful of that. And we'll try to keep it in the $110 range if we can. And let's try something different this month.
I like it. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, cool. Wine.com is available in most states, and most of the wines that they serve are too. So let's go that route for the next one. Do you have any requests while we're here? Anything that you would like to taste or try?
I'd say everything you mentioned, just because I had probably had very little wine from any of those places.
Oh, yeah, Greece has some amazing wines too. I mean, my wife and I were in Santorini. We were in Athens and Santorini a few years ago, and they have amazing wines there. I would love to get my hands on some of those. So, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, Greece sounds interesting.
Cool. Okay. Before we say goodnight, anything else? Anybody want to ask any questions or any input or feedback? I'm really glad to see you guys coming back month after month. We hit a little bit of a bump there, after the transition out of WTSO. So it's nice to have, the gang here with me. And of course, if you could spread the word to your friends, if you know anybody who wants to come over and join you guys for these tastings, we'd love to see more people, but I'm really grateful to have this core group. And I really appreciate your feedback, your input, and your company too.
So quick question for you, Mark.
Sure.
I'm sure we'll build as you've reorganized and re-engineered, but when we started with WTSO, whenever that was, was it 2 or 3 years ago? How many people were on the first one? Do you recall?
It was a lot. It was pretty big.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, usually when you start out, there's that initial excitement, So I think there was probably about 40 people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, I remember starting out and thinking, this would be good. And then, like we've done some esoteric stuff. We did the sake thing, which made me realize I'm not a sake kind of guy, but it was good. It's good to know. And the Madeira was okay, but it's still I appreciate you helping me try things that I would never try on my own.
Well, I appreciate that too. And, as much as I appreciated working with WTSL and I appreciated their partnership for as long as it lasted, I was working for them. So there were certain things I couldn't say or do. So these are mine now. These belong to us. So we can say or do whatever we want to do. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about here. This is just us, all of our friends and our group members getting together and drinking good wine together. So nothing is off limits. So I really appreciate it. Where's Mary? I don't know. Mary said she was going to follow me to the ends of the earth. And
Has Mary been back since the transition?
No. I don't know if it's a technical thing that she just doesn't understand how to get onto these things, or we
can say anything we want. It's a crazy thing. She's crazy.
We got to find her. We have got to find her.
We can find her. We can find her.
Yeah, we could use a little touch of crazy every once in a while, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, she was fun. She swore she was going to follow me to the ends of the earth. I don't know where. I think she fell off one of the ends of the earth. I'm not sure where she went.
You need to figure out how to reach out to her and find her.
She contacts me every once in a while on YouTube through my YouTube videos. So she knows how to talk to me on the YouTube videos. And I keep on trying to, direct her, like lead her over here. But somewhere between there and here, she gets lost every time. Yeah, she's something. Yeah, we need some of that. And yeah, if you have any other crazy friends you think would want to join us, I would love to have them in.
Isn't anybody who enjoys wine crazy? In a good way?
Yeah. We're all just a little crazy, but in a good way, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you don't make it this far.
You don't make it this far in life without being crazy. Hey, Marc, for those who didn't connect with you through WTSO or previously like we did, how do they get in this group?
Oh, all they have to do is just contact me.
Contact me.
I have an email list that I send out every month. Twice a month.
Okay.
Twice a month. Anyway,
So
you
just
can
get through
get
through Wine Living or just your email address.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we lost a lot of people. When I stopped working with WTSO, there were a lot of people who thought we just came as a package. And they thought, in December last year when we stopped doing Premium Wine Club, that WTSL was going to give them information on where to find me. But they did not. So that was. They just dropped me off the cliff essentially. They stopped working with me, and they didn't pass the information on to anybody who was in the group. So we lost a lot of people. in that transition.
Well, we'll spread the word.
Yes, whatever you could do would be much appreciated. Because I think the group of people is out there. I think the crowd is out there for these. We're just, having trouble reaching them. So if you know people who you think would want to come in and at least try it out even, I'd be willing to give them some kind of trial basis.
That's a great idea. Hey, Marc, why don't you do this for us? Put together some kind of like little promo intro email and send it to everybody on your current list that we could just forward and make it real easy for anybody else we know.
That would be fantastic if you could do that for me.
Yeah.
That would really be a big help. Yep, because I know the people are out there. One of the other things that we were kind of struggling with is that 7 o'clock here on the East Coast is only 4 o'clock on the West Coast. So, we're probably not getting West Coast people because it's too early in the day for them. So I mentioned, I don't know if you guys have been using AI. I use AI quite a bit now as like a sounding board and for like ideas. And I was talking to Google Gemini the other day, and I said, like, can you give me some more optimal windows to do these tastings? Because we're only getting a limited amount of people for the East Coast, but the West Coast could be, balking on this because it's not the right time for them. And we could try Sundays, exactly, Ben. That was what Google Gemini suggested too. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, it said Sunday afternoons would be great for people in California or in the West Coast because it's still the afternoon and it's not quite. It was interesting. It actually said it's not. People aren't getting the Sunday night jitters yet. Like that nervousness you get when you have to work the next day. So it suggested doing it 1 o'clock on Sundays because that would be 4 o'clock here on East Coast time. So you would hit both groups, both coasts, and people would still be in a good mood and still enjoying the weekend. Not quite getting ready for the week yet. So that was one of the thoughts that I had was to maybe try doing one on Sunday.
Let's do that. I like that a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because I was thinking we could try to slide this a little bit later on the East Coast, but it's still pretty early on the West Coast. But Sundays are just easy.
Well, we could do one of those too. I mean, I know a lot of people are married to the Thursday nights. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm not married to the Thursday night. I like the Thursday night during the winter, but during the summer, it's a little bit of a rush. But Sunday afternoon evenings for me are just chill.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Sundays would be good. I do wonder with the summer months how good earlier Sunday would be. But generally speaking, I think Sundays.
Yeah. Anybody else have an opinion on that?
I'm retired. I don't care.
Let me ask this. Vehemently opposed to Sundays.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I was wondering if anybody was opposed to Sundays.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, can't conflict with an Eagles game.
This is true. Yeah,
this is true. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that till August or September.
Right.
Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I'll do an A/B kind of test, and we can do one on a Sunday and see how it goes. It doesn't have to be permanent, but yeah, let's do a Sunday. Do you guys want to make the next one on a Sunday, maybe?
I'm good with that.
Okay, cool. So the next one we're going to try Sunday, and we're going to go through wine.com, and we're going to try some really interesting esoteric wines. Nice.
Love it.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
Ready.
Hey, Mark, how are things shaping up for your river cruise? Risa wanted to know.
Oh, they're good. We have six couples now. So yeah, we're approaching a nice little group. We're hoping for about maybe 25.
Okay.
So yeah, and if you guys are interested in the cruise, we're going to be doing a wine tasting cruise on Oceana Cruises next year in April 2026. And it's going to leave from Barcelona. It's going to visit the Cinque Terre in Italy, southern France, Corsica, Sardinia, and then ending up in Rome. So if you guys are interested, if anybody in the group is interested in doing that, I'm probably going to do a happy hour tasting like this. And we'll talk about the cruise. So if you want to do that, there's no obligation. I'll probably put out a date on my email list. I'll let you know when I'm planning on doing it. But you can bring your own wine, and all you have to do is sign in. We'll do a Zoom tasting, and we'll talk about the cruise. So I'll give you more information about it.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And when we're on the boat, we'll do 2 on-ship tastings together, including 2 dinners, and then we're going to do 2 offshore excursions too, or on land excursions. Excuse me. So we'll probably wind up going to some wineries either in Sardinia or Corsica, or maybe even in Cinque Terre, which would be really cool because Cinque Terre has some interesting wines. So yeah, if you're cruisers or if you're vacationers, travelers, European travelers, and you're interested in that, yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to do a Zoom happy hour where I'll just talk about, and it's no obligation. So you're not obligated to anything. You can just come in and listen, and I'll talk all about it, and you can ask me questions. I'm probably going to put that out in the next couple of months. But yes, the cruise is shaping up nicely. We've got a few people signed up already, which is a good sign.
Always a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's only my third cruise. I'm not much of a cruiser, but I know people are really into it. And I know, drinking wine on a ship in the Mediterranean can't be bad. Okay. Well, it's 8:30. 8:30. We've done a good tasting, and my wife is cooking something delicious. I can smell.
I'll tell your wife we said hi.
Yeah,
I will.
Michelle said hi.
I will.
Can she hear us?
No, I've got my ear. Hey, love.
No.
Hey, love. Everybody wants to say hi.
No.
Here she comes. Here she comes.
All right.
This is Michelle.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
So yeah, I'm gonna go have some Pinot Noir with our dinner.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and thank you. Yeah,
Thanks again.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
See ya.
I'll see you guys next month. On Sunday. Esoteric wines.
All right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody.
See ya.
Cheers.
Okay. Talk soon. Cheers. Yeah. Good night. Cheers.
I was going to ask